Hello, so this is going to be my method of documenting my progress for this game I'm making for Portfolio. It's going to be a turret defense, gem crush, or connect 3 hybrid, which I'm hoping will be pretty cool once I can get all the cool looking stuff into the scene. For right now, I'm just using very simple squares and blocks to make sure that everything works. And I'm going to be going through everything piece by piece in separate videos that make sense, so that whoever's watching can, understand what I'm going with this and directions I'm taking. So the first step when I was making this was to design a game board that would make sense when you have turret defense and gem crush. So I ended up dividing the board in half, and I have 2 different cameras which render 2 different things. So this is the first area right here, which is the turret defense zone that is controlled by this camera right here. If I move this screen a little bit to the left, you can see that these are the settings for that camera, which is what makes it render only halfway. This way, the second camera, which is the gem crush camera, which is dictated by this one right here, the crush area camera, has its own little zone so it doesn't overlap. This leads to this area right here where you have non-overlapping camera views, and they're both dictated by this little number. It's the opposite of the other one, so this one's telling it to render from this area up, and the other one tells it to render from this area up, which creates a perfect half. And just create a little bit of finagling to make sure they both fit perfectly in there. There's also UI elements that I've added in here, but I've turned those off for the sake of not overwhelming the viewer with too much information for this singular video. Now let's see. Moving on to this area, which is the turret defense area, I used simple squares to kind of draw a basic map. There's no mathematical algorithms or game balancing that I put into this map. I just kind of put the squares down and created a path so I could see if everything worked the way it's supposed to. So if I hit play, we're going to get this little area. I don't have it on maximize play, so you're going to see this whole screen. So this map, it changes color depending on where the cursor is. That way the player knows where their mouse currently is. And if you click on it, it will build a tiny little square right here. You can see this. There's going to be the inactive tower right here. It's just a cylinder for right now. And I can keep building these. And don't mind the UI. I'll be using the maximize on play whenever I want to show this area. But yeah, for right now, this creates interactiveness with the player. And then we have little things that spawn down the path. But I'll save that for later as well. The crush board is actually really simple as well. There's nothing specifically special. It's just a blank board. It's really the code that makes it special, and I'll get into that after I go over the code for the nodes. So, the nodes, which is just the tiles on the map. This is going to be the node script for how those things light up and stuff. So we just call a color and game object, a renderer, and a color. We have an integer, which is turrets to place, which is something which we'll get into in a second, actually. So in the start, we kind of grab the color that the tiles are. So the tiles are white, and this will become equal to a white. And then I set start color to the color white. So I have a stored variable that says it's white, which is very important. So in the update, we look for the game master, and we get the game start manager for the turret count, which goes into the UI element, because I want to limit how many turrets the player can put down. This void on mouse down checks to see if the mouse is clicked down, and what it's going to do is going to make sure that I can place turrets first, and it's going to check if the turret is not null. What this means is it'll check to see if I can build a turret on top of it, and then if it can, it'll do this. But if it can't, it'll return back to the top, and it'll tell you that you can't build there. And I also have a little to-do thing on here, which I already did, so I can probably get rid of that. Anyway, so you're going to build your, if it can, it's going to use the build manager to create an instance, which is a prefab of the turret to build right where I clicked on the node. And this is only building on the nodes because this script was going to be on the tiles only. And then that's very simple. How do you get the colors to change on the thing from white to blue? So we have this is the hover color. So on enter, it'll turn the hover color. So this is the color of the tile. And then this is the color you want to turn it to. The hover color we declared up here. So I made it blue. And then this is the start color that I was talking about earlier. So when you exit, it goes back to the original color. That's why it was important to keep this information into the system so that you wouldn't lose the color. And that's how I got the changing tiles. And how to build stuff. Boop, 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 boop. And before I get into depth into everything else, I will call that video here.